We've got great news on the injury front, plus highlights from Chiefs training camp, the penultimate practice up in St. Joe, coming up on today's KCSN Update, presented by DraftKings.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome in today's KCSN Update presented by DraftKings. I'm Tucker Franklin, and as always, I am super stoked to be with you guys, catch you up to date on what's going on in Chiefs Kingdom with the Kansas City Chiefs up in St. Joe. They had their second to last practice. Seems absolutely insane that training camp is practically done at this point. The last padded practice of the season for Andy Reid and company up there at training camp. I was there. I'm going to give you my observations, plus give you an injury report and show you some highlights because there was some good stuff coming out of practice today. But all that's coming up on today's video. First, as always, let's dive into this injury report. And it's reported after practice, Nico Remigio, Kadarius Toney, Nick Jones, and L'Jarius Sneed did not practice. Remigio dealing with that shoulder injury, Kadarius Toney a knee injury. Nick Jones broke his fingers in the preseason game, and L'Jarius Sneed still dealing with that knee injury, seeming to be a lingering issue. I am personally starting to get a little concerned about L'Jarius Sneed and that knee issue. I know Andy Reid, seems like a few weeks ago now, said that it's just knee inflammation, but not good that it is knee inflammation. If it still is inflamed, sometimes they have to wait for inflammation to go down before they can actually see what the injury is, if there is any structural damage to an injury. If it's still inflamed, I'm curious. I want to know more information about this L'Jarius Sneed injury. Feels like we haven't heard a whole lot. I think it was kind of with the Jody Fortson injury. You had to wait for the shoulder to stop it swelling, stop getting inflamed, so you could see that Jody Fortson did indeed separate his shoulder. On yesterday's video, talked about Jody Fortson going on the IR. His season appears to be done. He posted this on Instagram saying almost a farewell of like, my season's done, saying the surgery was successful and everything like that, but hoping he will be back in stronger, better than ever. Best of luck to Jody. Love Jody Fortson. Man, just wish he could stay healthy and stay on the field, because he certainly is super fun to watch on this Kansas City Chiefs team. But nevertheless, I'm getting a little worried about the L'Jarius Sneed injury, but there was good news, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Good news on the injury front is wide receiver Justyn Ross, Amir Smith-Marset, safety Mike Edwards was back at practice on Wednesday as well. All of those guys getting some reps, getting some good reps in after leaving practice early on Tuesday. Chiefs had a flurry of injuries. Talked about that on yesterday's KCSN update video. Flurry of injuries, but everything seemingly good outside of the Nico Remigio. That one might be a little bit more serious. It's a shoulder separation for Nico Remigio, the same injury that kind of took Jody Fortson out for the season. Sounds like a Remigio has the same thing. Now, it could be a little more minor of a separation than what Jody Fortson's was. He could pop it back into place, and maybe there's no structural damage. That would really help. It sounds like Jody had some structural damage. He had to have surgery on that shoulder, and that's what he said ended his season today. He said in his Instagram post he'll be out for the year, so sucks to see that. Hopefully Nico can stay healthy or become an IR stash for the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs do like to add a guy to the injured reserve to kind of redshirt him, per se. He can still be in the building, still be with the team, but he will be soaking up that playbook like a sponge. I don't think the Chiefs want to let that guy go. You saw him flash in the preseason game. He looked really good. He looks like he's going to be a dude and a guy that can be on this team for the long term. But I think the numbers were already tight for him making the roster as is. The injury could help him stay with the Chiefs for the long term. Who knows? Maybe it's I don't want to say it's a good thing for the guy, because it's never good to be injured, but it could benefit him and the team in the long term if he is placed on that injured reserve. I don't know if he'll make it through waivers if they do cut him before that 53-man roster cut down day on August 29th. Don't know if he'll make it. I think a team will snag him. I think a team is going to grab him on the waiver wire for their practice squad before he can make it to the Chiefs practice squad. But very high expectations, very high marks from Nico Remigio out of the first game. All of training camp, been very impressive of Nico Remigio, but good to see those guys back at practice. As I mentioned, the L'Jarius Sneed injury, he actually hasn't been back at practice since July 29th. A note I wrote down, I went back and I said, man, I feel like I haven't seen Nico. I feel like I haven't seen L'Jarius, I should say, in a long time. July 29th. That was pretty close to the first day of training camp, as July 23rd was the first practice. So I think that was one of the first days in pads that the Chiefs had out there at training camp. So I want to see L'Jarius Sneed get healthy. I understand sitting him out. I understand getting him healthy. He doesn't really have to play in these preseason games. He's not a guy that has to do that, but would love to see him get healthy, or at least have another update on his injury, because getting a little worried a little bit. And you would look at this defense without Chris Jones, without L'Jarius Sneed. It's a little dicey there for me. A little nervous as well. Obviously, Chris Jones not back at practice. If Chris Jones was back at practice, we'd be live here at KC Sports Network. A good excuse to say you should like and subscribe to our channel here at KC Sports Network, because we'll be going live. If Chris Jones does sign, or when Chris Jones does report, we will be going live, and I'll be here with you, talking you through that situation as well. I still think Chris Jones shows up prior to week 1. I always thought it was going to kind of be after camp broke in St. Joe. They've got the leverage. Both sides not really budging in that contract negotiations at all, and nothing real new coming out of those negotiations as well. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's get to the highlights from today's practice. So there was a lot of good highlights in today's practice. Was very excited to be out there at training camp, watch these highlights happen. So let's go to the first session. Now, this is Rashee Rice during their first team session that they had, maintaining the catch through some pretty major contact. It kind of surprised me watching this play. He gets popped from behind, maintains the ball. Patrick Mahomes, if you see his base, he kind of has a little bit of a flick pass there. He must have noticed something in the coverage to say, okay, I need to hit Rashee really quick here. He notices that, flicks it out there. Great play all around from Rashee and Patrick as well. Let's hit to the one-on-one session. I've got 4 clips from this one-on-one, 3 clips rather, from this one-on-one session. First one is the big one, Justyn Ross versus Lamar Jackson. Not that Lamar Jackson, cornerback Lamar Jackson. This is a great play from Justyn Ross. Again, just carted off the field, as people were reporting, carted off the field yesterday from training camp practice, and coming in and doing this to Lamar Jackson. It is unfair, making this one-handed grab. Great body control, great route, great everything from Justyn Ross here. Love to see that. Looks like he is perfectly fine. That's not the last thing we'll see from Justyn Ross either. There'll be more on this video. Let's give some defense some love here during one-on-ones. Trent McDuffie, he undercuts this route here from Sky Moore and gets an interception. Great play on the ball from Trent McDuffie. Can't complain for really anything from Sky Moore there. Trent McDuffie, really good nose for the football on that play, undercutting that route, coming down with that interception. Good looks all around. And this last clip from one-on-ones here, this is Marquez Valdez-Scantling versus Joshua Williams. He gets him a bit, and then he lets him know that he got him. Some chirping going on. I think these two guys, I think this is just some friendly banter. These two guys probably go back and forth at it, trash talking. I think Joshua Williams is a bit of a trash talker, and I think the guys enjoy that, obviously. But MVS letting him know that he beat him there on that one-on-one rep. Let's go to the team session as Justyn Ross back again for another play. He finds this Patrick Mahomes pass. He elevates for it. He goes up. He gets this ball that Patrick Mahomes throws up for him in the back of the end zone for a touchdown, showing off his vertical, showing that high point catch ability, showing all kinds of skill sets that we know that Justyn Ross has. This is a good example of how the Chiefs probably could use Justyn Ross in the regular season as a red zone guy. Throw it up in the back of the end zone, let him go up, let him get it. That Mahomes doesn't do that a whole lot, but I think that with a guy like Justyn Ross, that could be a fun way to implement him, especially early on in the season as he's still getting acclimated to the speed of the NFL game. Next, let's move on to 7-on-7 as Brian Cook. Man, this is a really good play from Brian Cook here. He catches up to Kelsey on this route, lays out and has a pass breakup. I was really impressed seeing this happen out in real time from Brian Cook. Great play there from the second-year safety, who it seems like everyone's saying he's really stepped up and learned and kind of grown into his role as that number 2 safety out there, and a very vocal leader for that defense, making a great play on Travis Kelsey right there, coming up, breaking up that pass. Finally, this is also in 7-on-7. Mahomes, oh my goodness, this is just a great Mahomes ball, an absolute seed. He fits this into a window. Call it a dot, call it a dart, whatever you want to call it. It's a great ball to MVS. Hits him in stride, tight window, just stereotypical Mahomes. And that's what I love about this play. He fits this ball in there to MVS, hits him in stride. MVS takes all the way to the house. Love this. The throw is the best part, I think, of this video there. Obviously, MVS taking it to the house is really cool, but the Mahomes just absolute accuracy in that right there in the 7-on-7 period, fitting it in that tight window, being able to squeeze it in there. And I just love to watch Patrick Mahomes throw balls through tight windows. It's the best. It shows why he is the best quarterback in the NFL. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of KCS and Update. We've got more content on our audio channels if you are interested. I sat down with Charles Goldman of A to Z Sports. He's covering the AFC. He's covering the Kansas City Chiefs. He's covering all kinds of stuff over there for A to Z Sports. We sat down, talked a little bit about the 53-man roster, what you could see in terms of wide receiver 7. Could you see 3 running backs, 3 tight ends, and talk about the injuries, how they all impact that. Plus, we talk about some early expectations for the second preseason game for the Kansas City Chiefs as they go back to where they won the Super Bowl in Arizona to take on the Cardinals in preseason game 2. Super excited for that. Super excited for that to happen too. We'll have a live post-game show for that as well on Saturday night. Make sure to be subscribed to us here at KC Sports Network as we will have a lot of content for you leading up to that. You can go check out the KC Lab is going to be live on Thursday night, but outside the trenches, myself, Brian Hanley, and Nick Leckie will be live on Wednesday night. We will be talking who the best division in the NFL is. We're going to talk a little bit broader NFL stuff. So if you want to join us for that conversation, more than welcome to. Love to have you on our KCSN YouTube channel. We'll be live right here. So again, subscribe. So number 1, you become a first teamer. Everybody wants to be a first teamer this time of year. And number 2, so you don't miss anything that we've got going on here at KC Sports Network as we get you ready for the second preseason game and we get you ready for the season as a whole. As that second cut down date, or that only cut down day, I should say, is August 29th. We'll have plenty of stuff leading up to that. Don't worry about that. And also, you can find our audio channels wherever you listen to podcasts. Search KC Sports Network. We've got all kinds of content there as well for your listening pleasure. I'll be back sometime soon with another video, probably after the Chiefs wrap up camp at St. Joe. Tomorrow's the last practice they got going on at St. Joe, Military Appreciation Day. So if you're going to go on up there, be sure to remember it's an 8:15 start time for practice, not a 9:15. It's an 8:15 start time for practice. The only time I start at 8:15, practice will approximately end at about 10:30. So I'll be back tomorrow with another video. So until then, stay safe out there. Be kind, Chiefs Kingdom, and I'll talk to you later.